This is Behind the Verdict. I'm John Horford with Bryan Cook and Christina Nicole Capron Horford.
Oh my God.
I'm going to mix it up every single time. Real quick before we get into this, did you know Christina's named after two women who were murdered?
No.
Christina, tell us stories.
My middle name's from Nicole Simpson. And what was my first name? Some little 7-year-old girl who went missing and got murdered.
Yeah,
something.
your mom named you after
Wow.
murdered women.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, right?
When did you find that out? How old were you?
Teenager, maybe? Yeah.
Your dad just had no say in anything.
No.
Bill is just whatever.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just airing out our family's dirty laundry.
That's
kidding.
not dirty.
I know.
That's dirty?
I was being dramatic.
Come on.
Can we move on?
Yeah,
I don't
we
want to talk
can.
about this anymore.
Today we're going to talk about, what do we want to call it? The Idaho College murders?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, the Idaho College murders. Myrene was insistent that
It's a good time.
Yeah, it is a good time.
I really am insistent on this one.
That's okay.
This one
an interesting
really
case.
bothers me.
Yeah, and Christine was very interested in this case as well, and I watched 2 docs with her to try to catch up on all of the things that were happening. Pretty frustrating case.
It is. So November 13th, 2022, 4 University of Idaho college students, Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Maddie Mogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez were murdered in their off-campus home. And it sparked a outrage across the little town of Moscow, Idaho, which was very quiet, very crime-free to most people. Most people never locked their doors, never locked their windows, didn't lock their cars, walked home late at night by themselves, had no fear of doing any of those things until November 13th, 2022.
That was really well done. I'm impressed.
Thank you. I know
Yeah.
a lot about this case.
Yeah, okay, that was beautiful. Yeah, home of the Vandals. Yeah, Kaylee and Madison, they were lifelong best friends. Xana and Ethan were dating, and they had all been out that night. The two best friends and then the couple, they were out doing their own thing until late night, right?
Yeah, so Xana and Ethan were at his fraternity house at a party, and they were there till pretty late, but they came back to her place. And then Maddie and Kaylee were out downtown at the only bar in downtown Moscow called the Corner Bar.
Wow, you got it.
And then after they were at the Corner Bar, there is a food truck that parks out there really close to the bar, say, at closing time for all the people who want a snack or something to eat before they go home. And this food truck actually has a live feed that shows who's coming up to the food truck, what's happening on the streets downtown Moscow, Idaho. And they were able to pick up Maddie and Kaylee as they ordered food, got their food, and began to go home.
And then Xana went home and door dashed.
Yes, she did. There were also
And scrolled TikTok.
Yep.
2 other roommates who were home in the house at the time. And I think really one of the things we should talk about is the layout of this house. So it was kind of a uniquely built house. It was a 3-story house, and there was 1 bedroom on what you'd call the ground floor that was the door that would go out to the parking area, and that was one of the surviving roommates' bedrooms. And then you went up a flight of stairs, and there was one of the other surviving roommates' bedrooms, along with Xana Kernodle's bedroom, a bathroom. That floor also had the living room and the kitchen/dining or eat-in area. And then you went up a 3rd flight of stairs. 3rd flight? 2nd flight. 2nd flight of stairs, right? Went to the 3rd floor, and there were 2 bedrooms at the top of that 3rd floor. One was Maddie Mogan's, and one was Kaylee Gonzalez, although she had recently graduated, moved out, got what she called a big girl job and was going to be moving to Texas, but she came back to the house that weekend to celebrate with her roommates that she just bought a brand new car. And so all of her stuff was out of her bedroom, and Kaylee brought her beloved pet dog with her. So the dog was in her room, and she decided to bunk with Maddie in her room that night. We do know that, as Christina said, that Xana was ordering DoorDash about 4 a.m. and that she was on TikTok until 4:12, and then she went completely silent. So we believe it was or at least I believe it was during that time that she was murdered.
I'm pretty sure there's a security camera footage of his car at 405 parking like in front of the house.
But was it earlier than that, though? Because I think that they were trying to say that the first murder might have happened as early as 4 o'clock a.m. So they're saying it happened between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. I mean, it's a small detail.
There were security cameras in that neighborhood, and what was interesting where this house was located was it was kind of at a cul-de-sac area. Like, you don't go that way unless you're going to one of these residences. And the white Hyundai Elantra was seen multiple times going back and forth in that neighborhood, and it was determined to be the murderer's vehicle. But they can see it pulling up and parking around 4:05, I think was what I read, and then seen departing the area around 4:20, 4:25 at a high rate of speed. I think one of the things that law enforcement knew was this white Hyundai Elantra had been in this neighborhood quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So they put an alert out to all of the local police departments, including the University of Idaho and also including Washington University or University of Washington. I'm not sure which way it's stated, but there was a security guard at the University of Washington who saw this car parked in an on-campus apartment complex, and it turned out that's where the murderer lived because he was a graduate student at the other university. And although they were in different states, they literally were 10, 15 minutes apart. It wasn't very far. So it seems like there's a lot of speculation out there as to why this happened, maybe which one of the victims was the intended initial target. And a lot of the things that I've read in the media suggested that perhaps Maddie Mogen might have been the initial target because it appears from everything I've seen that he would have went in the sliding glass door in the back of the house, which would have come into the kitchen area, living room area, and he went right upstairs to the 3rd floor. So he would have had to know where her room was. And one of the ways I think he was able to identify that is Maddie had a big pink letter M in her window, and she also had a pink pair of cowgirl boots that she wore frequently when she went out.
Is it also possible that the killer had been to a party at this residence on, King Street? Because it was known to be a party house. It was known to be a house that got noise complaints all of the time to the point where in the documentary that we were watching, I guess they're triplets, but the brother of who was
Ethan.
Ethan, yeah, the brother of Ethan was saying that one of his fraternity brothers woke him up, was like, "Hey, there are police over at the King House," and he's like, "Police are always over there. Like, they're super loud and people are always partying there." And it's like, no, like, we should go check it out. And then it ended up being because they were killed. So is it possible that he had gone and scoped it out before?
I think it is possible because if they had a party at that 3-level house, you would have so many people in there. You may know them. You may not know everybody who comes. And it's a college party. So
yeah,
you're going to be getting different people.
Yeah, and one of the docs that we watched, they even mentioned one of the times that the cops came over, the cops were like, "Can we talk to somebody who owns this residence or who lives here?" And none of them were there. So they were just partying at their house, and none of them were at the house at the time. So it just goes to show that he could have even been there when they weren't there and just scoped the place out.
He might have known at that point that they didn't lock that slider door, or that might have been an easy way for him to get in. But again, I think he identified Maddie from what was able to be seen through her window.
Wasn't Kaylee's wounds more like aggressive? Because I think some people have theorized that maybe she was the target because it felt more like passionate or angry.
Well, that could be one theory. The theory that I would subscribe to is that he intended Maddie and he got pissed off when he got to her bedroom and there was somebody else in her bed. Kaylee's family also indicated that she was quite a fighter and that had she had an opportunity, I think her older sister said something to this effect, that she would have kicked his ass if she could have. And so maybe she tried to fight back and he beat her. My understanding is beat her in the face quite heavily and her stab wounds were much more significant than were Maddie's.
Yeah. Oof.
I mean, if you think about it, he walked into Maddie's bedroom and there are two girls in a twin bed. The bed is up against the wall. So, we don't know who was in necessarily which position for sure. Although if you theorize that the police found the sheath to the K-bar knife that he used next to Maddie, it would seem to indicate maybe that was Maddie was on the outside and Kaylee was on the inside by the wall. Mm-hmm. But that's just a theory. So then I think what happened next is that he stabbed both Maddie and Kaylee to death and was going downstairs.
Sorry, stop. You made me smile, and then she goes straight into this, and I'm like, bro, I can't be smiling.
They're not connected.
I know, but it looks like I'm smiling while she's like, they were brutally murdered.
Yeah,
they're brutally murdered, but I think at that point,
you got us. Okay, we can cut all this out.
I'm sorry.
I think at that point, once he killed Maddie and Kaylee, he went downstairs and he either encountered Xana getting her DoorDash, or maybe he encountered the DoorDash person themselves, because one of the recent bombshells that came out from something the prosecutor had filed pre-trial in a motion was that one of the surviving roommates saw him carrying some sort of container. And people theorized, was it the takeout container? Did he get that from the DoorDash person? Did he take it from Xana? Or did he take something from the scene as a memento?
I feel like it would be pretty easy for them to track which DoorDash driver went to that specific house at that time.
I'm sure they probably know. We just don't know those details yet.
Oh, and they would go ask that person, did this guy in the picture, because obviously we know who it is now, did he answer the door and get the food?
Right. Well,
there was a gag order.
Yeah, up until a week ago, there was a complete gag order. Nobody associated with the case, the attorneys, the court personnel, law enforcement could speak about details. Even the families couldn't speak about any details they knew.
Okay, so
they were trying to protect the integrity of the case.
How new is that documentary that we just watched on, what was it,
new.
Prime?
It's pretty new, I think.
Is it pretty new?
Was it One Night in Idaho?
Yeah. It's like 4 parts.
Four parts.
That was well done.
And they talked to all the friends and most of the friends and family members, so they're giving details.
Except Kaylee's family, they didn't talk to any of them, which I thought was.
I mean, they probably, it's traumatic. Who knows? Maybe they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to relive it.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty understandable.
Yeah.
So then I think at some point, the murderer, and I'm not going to say his name because I've said this before, he's not going to get one little iota of notoriety from me.
I feel like in past episodes we've always said that we were going to do that, and then we end up saying the murderer's name anyway.
We'll bleep it out.
I'm not saying it.
We could bleep it.
I could bleep a lot of things about him, but I'm just going to go on to the next point.
Go on. Is there more that we want to talk about before we get into who this individual is and how they found him and what his background is? Because his background kind of ties into what happened in a strange way.
Yeah. Well, I want to just kind of say what he did.
First?
Kind of hit that, and then we'll go into the strangeness, if that's okay.
Let's go.
So after he murders Maddie and Kaylee, he encounters Xana on what is the middle floor, if you will, the living room, kitchen area where her bedroom is. And we know that Ethan was likely in her room. Now, we don't know for sure whether he drank that night, didn't drink that night. He was just out asleep. Who knows? But there was a ring cam from a nearby house that picked up a very loud thud coming from the area of Xana's bedroom. And then one of the surviving roommates indicated they heard crying from Xana's room. And they thought initially maybe Xana and Ethan had gotten into an argument. But then they heard a male voice they did not recognize say, "I'm here to help you."
Like comforting her.
Yes.
Almost.
Creepy.
Yeah.
Yes. And so he kills both of them. And then as he comes out of that area, the surviving roommate on that floor opened her door multiple times to kind of see what was going on and, what was happening. And she was trying to text and call the roommates and they wouldn't answer. And she saw a man she described as the same height and same stature as the murderer. But she also described the man had a mask over his face and head, but that he had very bushy eyebrows. And if you look at this murderer, that's one of the things that stand out are those damn bushy eyebrows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she said she watches this man go out the sliding door and she's freaking out. The only roommate she can get a hold of is the other surviving roommate who is downstairs at the time in the lowest level. And so she runs down there. They lock themselves in her room and they both try in vain to get a hold of Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan, or Xana. Nobody answers. Nobody picks up. They didn't know what to do. And recently, it was determined that the one surviving roommate said, we talked about calling the police. We talked about calling for help, but we were afraid that nothing happened. They just weren't answering. Maybe they were asleep. Maybe they were passed out or whatever. And they were going to call us scaredy cats the next day for freaking out about nothing. And so I think the two surviving roommates were underclassmen and everybody else was upperclassmen. And maybe that played into it. Maybe they didn't want to seem like they were overreacting for something.
But the one roommate did see a stranger.
She did.
In
but
their
like
house.
you said, they had parties all the time and people in and out of that house.
They did, but it was dark and it was past 4 and everyone was in their bedrooms.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But these are also young.
And the person was wearing a mask.
These are young college students who probably at the time just didn't know what to do when presented with something they thought was kind of scary. Mm-hmm. And I think one of those surviving roommates said she questioned whether she saw that or not. She questioned, did they really have a mask? Did they not? And she felt like she wasn't 100% sure at the time and just didn't know what to do.
So if he's really this, is he bloodthirsty? We don't know what the motive is necessarily, but why were the other 2 roommates spared? 2 roommates were home. The one saw the killer. Neither of them even got hurt. Why?
Well, I think Maddie or Kaylee, probably Maddie was the target, and Xana and Ethan were in the wrong place at the wrong time. She came out of her room and she saw him and probably went back in her room maybe to try to rouse Ethan or to get help. So I don't think he intended to kill that many people.
But the other roommate who survived also saw him, and he knows that she saw him.
But at some point, you've just brutally murdered 4 people. You stabbed them, and that takes an awful lot of stamina and energy. He may have been exhausted by then. He may have figured, you know what, that somebody's probably called the police already. I need to get out of here.
And that was a lone roommate. They weren't in the room together. The other 2 had someone with them. So 2 people and 2 people, and then this is one lone individual.
Yeah. But he didn't know there were 2 people in those rooms when he went. Right? So he didn't know. He wouldn't have known how many people might have been in this other roommate's room.
I don't know. It's one of the strangest parts of this case to me.
Well, I think his entire motive is strange and weird.
What is his motive? What was his motive?
I think that Maddie was a target. He was...
So he'd been stalking her?
I think so. So she worked at a restaurant downtown Moscow, as did Xana. That was one of the only places in the area to get vegan food. And this murderer was vegan. And so he probably went in there, probably quite a bit. And if this was the only place where he would go and get food that he liked, and she worked there all the time.
He just became fixated.
Became fixated on her, is my guess. There's been a lot of psychological profiling done of this person, of this murderer, since this happened. And I want to say they call it an uncel. Incel, right?
Involuntary celibate.
Right. But
Sorry,
he
go
would...
ahead.
No, you were on it.
Hey, you know me.
He would tell people...
Clearly I'm part of that gang.
He would tell people that he could get any girl he wanted, no matter how beautiful, no matter how popular. He could get anybody he wanted whenever he wanted. And maybe she brushed him off. Maybe she said, no, thank you. Because Maddie did have a boyfriend. And obviously Xana did. And Kaylee did as well. So maybe he hit on them and it didn't go the way he wanted. And then he stalked and fixated.
Yeah. And one of the documentaries we were watching, it also said that he was bullied growing up and he was kind of heavy. But then he got taller and he leaned out. And
Girls still didn't want him.
well, yeah. But then in his mind, why wouldn't they want him? No.
Exactly. That's what turns him crazier.
Yeah. I'm
Well,
sure it
that
does.
and all the drugs he did beforehand, because that was one of the ways.
Was he on drugs?
Yeah, really heavily. He went to rehab before he went to the University of Washington for graduate school.
What kind of drugs are we talking about?
I want to say it was cocaine. Just something like that.
I've heard it makes people erratic. Do we want to talk about his background?
Yeah.
He was a criminology?
He was
Was
a criminology graduate student
Yes.
who was also a TA, a teacher's assistant.
Yep.
And he was studying a lot of different things. He did a recent survey of serial killers, wanting to know where they went wrong, what got them caught,
Yep.
all that kind of thing. I mean,
No red flags there.
I think it was complete research. Like, don't do that. Don't leave this behind.
The
Doing it
tough
behind.
part is the people
Exactly.
that profile these types of people have to also ask those types of questions. And there are good people who are doing that work too.
There are. I'm
Yeah,
not
and
saying
you need those people.
criminologists are bad.
I'm just bringing it up because then people
This
are
guy's
like,
an asshole.
he's so strange.
Yeah.
He's so strange. It's fascinating. Just the lack of answers,
Right.
the lack of justification for what he did. It's like he's just like frozen.
And I think he thought he was going to get away with it.
For sure.
Okay. Did he think he was going to get away with it? He studied killers on how to avoid being caught and captured. Mm-hmm. And then he left his DNA and the
Accident.
sheath at the scene. Pretty big mistake.
Well, didn't
Well-
he drive by at 9 a.m. the next morning? He was
He
probably
did. He
like,
came back
shit,
the
I
next
should
morning
try and
to
get that.
see.
And there was no cops there
Well,
yet.
just to see, what happened, because
They
he
hadn't
didn't go
called.
home.
No one had
right?
called the cops yet.
Well, but
At 9 a.m.
oftentimes murderers will go back to the scene to see what kind of stir they caused. Is there a flurry of police? Is there a flurry? Are there people outside crying? What's happening? And they kind of actually get off on that too, because they know what happened inside that house and they want to see. It's kind of like a thrill. I'm driving by. I did this and you don't know it's me.
It's also possible that he didn't act alone. Do you think there's a possibility that he had an accomplice?
No.
No.
He didn't have friends.
There was 4 murders, 1 knife. It all happened in less than 25 minutes. He did it all alone?
Yes.
Really? You don't think anyone else was involved in this
No.
at all?
No.
Because you would have had more than one person. Would they have gone to the same room at the same time?
No, different rooms, different times.
But I don't think that
Or
fits the theory about why he
different
did
rooms,
it.
different rooms, same time. Different rooms, same time.
But then if that were the case and there were 2 people there, they would have had time to kill the remaining roommates, and they didn't.
Maybe, like you said, it was targeted for whatever reason. We don't know.
We don't know.
Is the crazy part. And I just can't imagine the one roommate opening the door, seeing him seeing her, and then him just like casually continuing to walk out the door. Does not feel right.
She might not have like threatened him, you know, in the way that Xana was like understood maybe what was going on and like could ID him or was gonna call the cops. Like I feel like the other girl just like
Xana
shut
might have
the door
said,
and
you
was
know,
like,
what the
didn't-
hell are you
she
doing
thought
in
she
my
had a
house?
dream.
Get out of here. She might have confronted him because Xana, they said, was very outspoken. And these other girls seemed to be very quiet. Also, if you think about it, he just murdered the 3rd and 4th victims, right? He may have been in a bit of a daze, and all he was focusing on was straightforward going to the sliding glass door. He may not have seen the roommate clearly on the side when she opened her door because he was so fixated on leaving.
And wouldn't you be exhausted after like murdering 4 people? Like,
Yeah.
And physically.
I think the adrenaline and the fear of potentially getting caught would
Yeah, probably.
push you through that if you needed to take down one more person so you could get away with it. Like this person's literally looking at you. and
Yeah,
you
but he had a
look back at
mask on,
them.
so he was probably like.
Tall, bushy eyebrows somehow. I
Well,
mean,
that's not the only. They needed the DNA, obviously.
But
too.
they needed the DNA
haven't
and
talked
then
about
and,
that.
and then the
Yeah.
car, from the sheath
Yeah.
Yeah.
that they
Sheath.
matched with the dad.
Yes.
Yeah, we can talk about that too in a minute. But
Okay.
going back to the crime scene, it was incredibly brutal just with the minimal details law enforcement has released so far. But if you think back to the first videos, the first news reporters going to that scene, there's one thing that really stood out to me, and it's the side of the house where Xana's bedroom was. There was blood dripping from the foundation from her bedroom.
Yeah.
It was dripping down the wall.
Yeah.
And so it
That's one of the first quotes.
must have been completely brutal with Xana and Ethan to have that much blood loss.
But again, if she wasn't the target, why so brutal with them? Because she dared to fight back?
Maybe she fought back. Maybe she was going to call the police.
Also, in their specific case, I'm trying not to say, in their case, he was a pretty big guy, wasn't he?
Which guy? The
Ethan.
murderer? Ethan.
Oh.
Ethan was a big guy.
Yeah.
I think he was asleep though. Didn't they say
He was either asleep or maybe he had a lot to drink that night. So maybe he wasn't quick on his feet for either of those reasons.
Yeah.
And, the murderer comes in, maybe he subdues Xana, maybe he knocks her out and he sees Ethan and he's like, oh shit, that's a big dude. I better do that first. Maybe that's why the roommate heard Xana crying, because she maybe was knocked out, maybe was stabbed or couldn't get up or whatever, but she's perhaps watching what he's doing to Ethan. We don't know how bad that is.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrifying. I can't imagine what those 4 kids went through.
Oof.
Yeah, watching the mom on the documentary when she was just like recapping when she learned that it was a knife, I'm just like, oh my God. Just horrible. I felt so
horrible.
bad for the family and just like the friends and stuff. Like, so traumatizing.
So that it was late morning, early afternoon when the roommates woke up and they still couldn't reach the other 4. They called a couple friends and said, hey, can you come over? Something weird's happening in this house and we don't know what it is and we're really scared.
Why wouldn't they check their rooms?
Because they were afraid. So they didn't. So they waited for their girlfriend to come over. She brought her boyfriend, and the boyfriend went upstairs alone, went into Xana's room, saw what he saw, and told everybody to get out of the house.
Yeah, but didn't tell him what happened.
He didn't tell him what he saw, just that there was somebody who was unconscious, I think was his word.
To kind of, to spare him from some of the trauma, maybe.
Yeah, because that friend did speak on one of those documentaries recently, and he said that was the most traumatic thing he's ever seen. And I can't imagine how bad it would have been. But he said those are images he can't get out of his head.
I think it was really nice of him to spare everyone else seeing that, honestly.
Yeah. How could you get that out of your head?
You can't.
Yeah.
From someone who's done homicide cases, if you tell me the name of one of the homicide cases I've done, I can think back right now to what it looked like when we had photos of the scene, of the body, of the whatever. When you look back to, for example, the Bowman case, I can see Andrea's bones laid out on the medical examiner table. I can see the barrel that was unearthed. So I wasn't there during the trauma like this young man was or like these other roommates were. So I can't imagine how difficult it is for them.
Yeah, to find someone you care about like that.
Brutally murdered.
Yeah.
Enough for the blood to seep through.
In a place that all of you
foundation.
felt was like home and safe and yeah.
And that one photo that surfaced that played in everything was the one taken earlier that day when they were going to the Vandals football game. And it was all of the roommates, including the surviving, along with Ethan. And this is the one where Maddie is on Kaylee's shoulders. And they're all happy and carefree, and they had no idea what was coming. None. It's heartbreaking.
It's horrible.
I think that's a good place to wrap up this episode. If you have any questions, or if we're missing some specific detail that you think was essential to this case, reach out to us, BTV_pod. You can find us YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the places.
Let us know if you've seen any new evidence that's come out or details that have been released since the gag order was lifted, and if there's something that convinces you, one way or the other, that the murderer did it, or perhaps you have a different theory, let us know that too.
You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Part 2 coming next.